Okay, StarCraft fans, we're into game 3 of Haymaker versus Pyrobow. This map is Abyssal Reef, a very nice sort of kind of smallish map, nice little rushing distance. In previous games we've seen Pyrobow go for that really early gas, the really early spawning pool, and then sort of denying his Terran opponents expand here. That was in the second game. In the first game, we saw Haymaker out macro his opponent, defending off all of the rush, surviving, building up an army bigger than his opponent, and then walking across the map. Let's see what this third game brings us. Let's get the names up in the top and the production tab in the top left. So Pyrobow again going for this really early 14 pull. Kind of like it. I like the aggression. It means that your opponent is always on their toes. This drone scout, again, I said in the previous two videos, is probably not needed since it's a Terran, but considering you have gone for a 14 pull twice in a row, maybe you do want to see if there's any cheese in here. Haymaker is just doing the exact same thing again, going completely standard, supply depot, gas, barracks. He is building on a second gas here, and that's because he's probably going to go into what he normally did in the past two games, probably going to go into Marauder, possibly into Reaper. Might try a 2 racks Reaper. With double gas you can go for Reapers, and Reapers are really good. You can get them out really quickly. They're faster than slowlings, so if your opponent is skipping out on the metabolic boost, then your Reapers can deal substantial damage. We see 6lings on the production tab for Pyrobow, so probably going to walk those across the map. I hope to see him send them up the ramp this time. In the past two games we've just sort of seen them hang about the side, and again we're going to see them hang about on the side. Not really too sure about that decision. They don't really pay off, and in the first game they were cleaned up. In the second game it paid off for you because you got a few more lings and your opponent had marines. But yeah, we're seeing the orbital morphed in for Haymaker here. So we'll have mules coming down on this mineral line pretty shortly. See reactor coming in first instead of a tech lab. And I like this, he's gone for a bunker in his main base because he knows his opponent is liking this sort of early aggression with the lings. So why not just build a bunker, plonk your marines in it, and they're going to be safe. They're going to stop the lings walking up this ramp. He's going for double factory, so this is slightly different to what we saw in the past two games from Haymaker. Switching it up a bit, maybe to try and throw his opponent off in this final match point. But this factory's been finished for a little while now. He's got the resources to build some Hellions, perhaps. Yeah, so we're seeing a reactor, so I reckon we're going to see some reacted Hellions quite possibly out of this factory. And their Hellions are super good. I want to see them come down. Go on, blonk the Hellions in. Hellions, and Hellions, and Hellions. So Hellions are super good against lings. They do bonus damage against light armoured, which the Zerg units are. They've got nice fiery flames that can burn drones, burn lings, and they're the perfect counter to how Pyrobow has been playing these last two games. So Haymaker in round 4 kind of adapting to how his opponents played, and I like that. Means that he is going to be able to get this expand down if he wants to, because he's going to have the correct units to be able to defend against the early game rushing. Pyrobow putting down that evolution chamber like he always does, and the roach warren as well. In the last game I said he probably wanted to go for a double evo and progress into roaches, but it wasn't needed in the end because he kept denying the Terrans expand, and eventually the Terran ran out of stuff. Haymaker's built this bunker. Unfortunately the Zerg players just sort of playing a little bit more passively this time instead of being ultra aggressive, perhaps waiting for these lings to come along. And Haymaker does now know about these lings. He's not microed this Hellion correctly. You can't just leave them to stand there, because although they're good, if they get surrounded like that they're going to be killed fairly quickly. And the lings are just going to get this SCV and probably this bunker unless it's salvaged by Haymaker. Don't think it is. You can salvage bunkers, so if they're being attacked like that, just like you cancel a building, you can click salvage and you get some money back from that. Got +1 carapace coming in for the Zerg player here, as well as a handful of roaches and burrow. So burrow was researched in the last couple of games, but we didn't really see it used. Hopefully in this game we might see a few more roaches on the production tab and perhaps a burrowed roach push. For Haymaker, we see Stim Pack upgrade coming in a bit later than usual because we went for the Hellions. We see the Marines now in the bunker, and we also see +1 armour coming in first before +1 weapons. Haymaker recognising that the +1 armour is doing him a bit better than the +1 weapons because his opponent is always going for the carapace upgrade first. Got Starport coming down as well, so hopefully going to see some medevacs being produced out of there. Alternatively to the medevac, you can put a Viking on the production tab first, and your Viking can go around and kill off any scouting overlords and deny the Zerg some supply. Got a bit of an engagement down here with 4 Hellions, so that's just too many Lings for the Hellions to deal with. Although they're getting lots of kills, the Lings are just in too plentiful number here. Haymaker does fall back to the bunker. Oh, he's lost that Hellion there. He's going to lose this one as well if he's not careful. Haymaker, you don't need to push into this. Let your opponent push up into your well-defended area up here. Force him to lose this force and then expand. Alternatively, you've got this factory here. It's not doing anything. You've got the resources. Why not switch it over with this barracks and build a siege tank? Plonk it on the high ground. Plonk it on the high ground here and here. You're going to be able to see off this force quite nicely. Pyrobow, what are you doing? You're hitting up the drone production, and I like that because you haven't got a saturated second base, so your advantage by denying your opponent's second base here isn't as far ahead as you think he is. I do like the 2 queens in the natural just to see off any potential Hellion harass that could come through. We do see a few more roaches joining this force, but I'd like to see a few more. Maybe slow down the Ling production there because you know your opponent's building Hellions. Roaches do really well against Hellions as well as Marines if they're correctly upgraded. So, I mean, maybe a few more Roaches to defend against this. Haymaker's throwing down a scan there just to see where if his opponent was still here. You don't have enough to engage here, Haymaker. That is a substantial Zerg force, and it is nearly twice as big as your army, so you want to just stay at home, stay in the safety of that bunker, wait for your medevac to come out. Oh, you've got a Banshee coming out. I like that play. Maybe activate that cloak on the tech lab as well, send that Banshee across, get these worker kills, and this army will be forced to either attack or go home. Still with the double Hellion or quadruple Hellion production here now for Haymaker. He is mining out his main base here, so he needs to get this expand soon. The Zerg's doing a really good job of denying this. He just needs to make sure that he's getting this saturated as well as getting the gases done and teching up as well, because you've only got 1 Evo chamber here, so you're getting 1 upgrade at a time. You've got enough money to plonk down a second, maybe even a 3rd Evo chamber if you wanted to, and go triple upgrades. He's tried to push up the ramp here, the Zerg player, into this really well defended area. Has got some of Haymaker's army caught off guard there, but not enough here to push into this really well defended, locked down area for the Terran. Haymaker, what are you going to do after this Banshee's out? Are you going to send it across the map or stick it with your main force? Looks like you're sticking it with your main force, and if you're going to do that, you need to get some engaging done here. You need to clean up this Zerg army so that you can expand, because you're going to be mined out in a few minutes time, and at that point, it's pretty much GG. See another Banshee on the production tab for Haymaker here. He is closing up his supply depot here. The Zerg can't get in to quite kill him. He doesn't have quite enough to kill the Terran player, but he does have enough to cause some damage here. He's going to get the supply depot if it's not repaired. It is on fire, so it's going to slowly lose health and burn down. Zerg recognising here that if he needs a few more army units, so he's building 10 Lings and 6 Roaches. The difference between the Zerg and the Terran player here at the minute, the Terran player just doesn't have the mining that he needs to support an army. The Zerg player has too much mining and doesn't have enough army. Terran player currently supply boxed. Probably needs another supply depot or 2 or 3. Why not? He's going for a second starport here. Will this be the second Banshee? I'm not sure whether the other one's gone. Oh, that would be the 3rd Banshee. The other 2 just kind of sat idle here. I think if these 3 Banshees... This 3 Banshees is more than enough to go across the map and kill a few drones between... I mean, against a couple of queens, they're not going to be in too much danger there. Words escaping me. You're going for complete Banshee all in, I suppose. There's not a lot left for you to do. You're about to mine out your base in a few minutes' time. A Banshee all in isn't a bad decision, considering you know that your opponent doesn't have Hydralisks and none of these units shoot up. Double Banshee production coming in for the Terran player here. The Zerg going 4+1 missile as well as a Baneling nest. Maybe trying to Baneling bust in through this front door. Not sure that's going to work too well because of the Hellions and the Marauders. They're going to slow the Marauders with concussive shell. Do they have that? No, they don't. So concussive shell possibly needs to be researched in this tech lab, because concussive shell will slow the Zerglings and Banelings down. This is exactly what you need. This bunker takes 7 corrosive biles. You've only got 2 Ravengers here, Pyrobow, so long as your opponent isn't repairing it, it doesn't really matter to you. But yes, normally 7 corrosive biles is what it takes to kill a bunker in one shot. These Banshees made it halfway, maybe a quarter of the way across the map before thinking they'll just admire this rock area, which is quite nice. I think Haymaker realising that he didn't research Cloak there. Possibly when this moves in or completes, he will push in. But this Zerg force is looking quite substantial down the bottom here, and it is nearly double the army supply of Haymaker. So yeah, we're reaching a bit of a quiet area of the game where both players just kind of letting each other sit back, get some more stuff. Yeah, the Zerg just kind of is denying the Terran player here. I mean, you haven't checked this third base. The Terran player could very easily have built a command centre here or here, picked it up, flown it over here, and could be mining off here. You've got no information about that. The only thing you know is that your opponent is roughly where he started. You do check that Caster's Curse there, the Zergling going off for the scout to see if there's any other bases around. We'll see the Banshees, and I'm not too sure about this, Pyrobow. You know there's Banshees out. Why have you not got Hydralisks? You've got a Baneling nest, okay, but you've got no Banelings. You've got a Spine Crawler. You've even got the Hydra Den. Why not just add in a few more Hydras? Oh, and I say this, and then there's an engagement coming down here at the front door. The Terran player's got probably enough army just to hold this off here. Now, if we see the army supply, I mean, he's evening it up quite well, really. I mean, that was 105, it's now 85. And I think Haymaker's realised that these Banshees can now shoot down on all of these units without taking any damage. So long as he micros it against those corrosive biles, because 3 corrosive biles will kill a Banshee. He is harassing here with the Cloak against, this is what I wanted to see about 2 or 3 minutes earlier. Cloak Banshee is killing all of this. The Queens can't kill them because they're invisible. Yeah. Sorry about the sniffles, guys. Got a bit of a cold. You're now sending the Banshees into the main base, and I like this. I think Haymaker is possibly going to either force this Zerg army to go home. I mean, the Zerg army's just kind of sat idle. What are you doing, Pyrobow? You could one-shot this Banshee and probably push into here since that factory's burning. But you're just kind of building some Hydras. Building some Hydras. Slow Hydras at that. Sending them across the map. Not really dealing with this. You've lost your layer now, which isn't good at all. You're building a Spore Crawler, but one Spore Crawler is not going to kill 5 or 6 Banshees here. They're just going to completely eat your drones, and if you're not doing anything, I mean, you're finally doing something, but you've lost your layer beforehand. And I'm not entirely sure you've got enough here. I mean, you've got, what, 80 supply? Sorry about that. You've got 80 supply here, but these Banshees are going to be able to kill most of your stuff. And the Terran player could just lift this up. And I think he really needs to do that right now. I think he needs to load up, lift this command centre, make sure it doesn't burn down. It has burnt down, and unfortunately this is going to be GG for the Terran. He's lost all of his SCVs. He doesn't have enough minerals for another base. So yeah, bit of a weird game, this one. Potential for both players to close out the game a lot earlier than it did. I think the Zerg player was probably in a really favourable position for the early game. The Terran player could have probably, if he built the right kind of things, taken the right kind of engagement, stopped this from happening. Possibly sending these Cloak Banshees over a bit earlier, because I mean he has completely decimated the Zerg's army here. Zerg just taking a random second base, I guess. Just a random hidden base over here with the extra resources that he's got. But these are the last buildings for the Terran player. And as soon as this starport and this engineering bay goes down, it is going to be GG. And unfortunately, Haymaker has left there, and Pyrobow is victorious in a 2-1 round 4 game. GG.